there's been a poll, which I think is really interesting. This was called a Global Community Survey Results Poll. These are results of this survey. And so you can see here, they ask questions like, being a member of this community is part of my identity, and it's 1 to 5. And I'll read here, it says, I strongly disagree with the statement. I strongly, and then 2 up to 5, which I mean, I strongly agree with this statement. So this involved about 600 or so people that answered this. And I think it was done fairly well, this poll. And I think probably gives you pretty good cross-section of people who consider themselves Sikhs and non-Sikhs that are within this 3HO community. So it looks like most people do identify with the community there. This is being associated with this community makes me feel good. Looks like most feel good about being associated with the community. Community members, I share similar values, and I share similar values. Looks like pretty good there. So it looks like the community is pretty cohesive in that way. It is important to me to be part of this community. Yes, most people. You can see here between 3 and 5, and then, so these are numbers up here on the left. It looks like 200 being the most, and then 0, of course, being the least. So that's interesting. I feel hopeful about this community's future. That's kind of all spread out there. People aren't sure what's going to happen, I think. Keep in mind, please, if you have any questions, please ask me any questions here. You can do that in that Q&A down there at the bottom of the box, or you can click that where that little hand is raised there, and then I'll try to answer your questions. Okay, so now this is on to the leadership section of this survey. Leadership here refers to the formal leadership of the community. Leaders and board members, KRI, leaders and board members of 3HO. All these people are involved in this leadership. I trust leadership of these organizations to do the right thing. And most people do not trust the leadership. And by the way, this Ekon Karkar that I had posted a post by her earlier, she is part of this leadership now. She was just voted onto this Sri Singh Sabha Corporation board. Leadership of these organizations represents my community. Very few people feel that the leadership represents their community. So this is really indicative of what's going on there. Again, the leadership of these organizations communicates clearly. They do not. Very few people feel that they communicate clearly. Almost all are down here where they are indicating they're not communicating clearly. So I think this, the structure of these organizations should change significantly. Okay, this is really significant. Looks like the vast majority feel that the organization needs to change. I think the leadership of the organizations has got to, has got to go. The teachings of the Yogi Bhajan are an important part of my life. Okay, so now this is going on to this section on Yogi Bhajan, I believe. Okay, so most people feel that teachings of the Yogi Bhajan are an important part of their life. Yogi Bhajan lectures should be reviewed for things that are outdated. So I guess most people feel that that his lectures should be reviewed. I don't know if that means to take them out of everything. As far as this poll is concerned, I mean, I feel they should just take everything out and get rid of it all. But that's going to be really a big change there if they try to do something like that. It looks like most people are saying that at least they should be reviewed. Yogi Bhajan always had his students' best interest in mind. Wow, most people do not feel that Yogi Bhajan had the best interest of his students in mind. That's what this is indicating. Although there's some hardcore people over here that feel that he did have their best interest in mind, but most feel he didn't. My personal attitude towards Yogi Bhajan has changed significantly in the past 4 months. Most people's personal attitude has changed, it looks like, it appears, towards Yogi Bhajan. How I feel about Kundalini Yoga has changed significantly in the past 4 months. So most people have not changed their attitude towards, feel about Kundalini Yoga has changed significantly in the past 4 months. It appears that it hasn't changed that much towards Kundalini Yoga. But there is over almost 150 people that say it, that they agree with that statement. So looks kind of split there. Yogi Bhajan's picture should remain up in community spaces. Okay, so it appears vast majority here feel that it should be removed, that it should not remain up. So this would be people here on this side who would say that it should remain. And these are people over here that say it should be removed over here. The majority say that it should be removed. That's interesting. Okay, so this is allegations. Allegations here refers to allegations of sexual misconduct. Sexual misconduct is defined by the KRA Code of Ethics, as all forms of sexual involvement with students are unethical, even when a student invites or consents to such behavior. Sexual behavior includes, is not limited to, all forms of overt and covert seductive speech, gestures, and actions. How many sexual allegations against Yogi Bhajan are you aware of? And so it appears that the majority of people, say 10 or more, are 3 to 5. So majority are aware of some allegations by against Yogi Bhajan. It appears there. I feel that the allegations against Yogi Bhajan are serious in nature. Almost everybody feels they're serious in nature. I feel that at least some of the allegations against Yogi Bhajan are probably true. Vast majority, almost 400 people in this survey feel that at least some of these allegations are true. That's pretty significant, I think. I mean, this contrasts with how this poll would have looked only, 6 months ago. I would say probably the vast majority would have felt like they were, like any allegations up to that point were not true. So this has really been a sea change. I'm waiting for the report from an olive branch before deciding whether or not to believe the allegations. Looks like most people are not waiting. They've already made up their mind, to be honest about that. Believing these allegations is incompatible with being a part of this community. So it appears that you don't have to believe the allegations, according to this poll, to be part of the community. Oh, okay, I see. If you believe in the allegations, it doesn't mean that you can't be part of the community. That's what people are saying here. That it's okay to believe in the allegations, you can still be a part of the community, and if you don't believe in, you can still be a part of the community too. They're saying community is community, I guess. I know what that was, just a blank screen there. Okay. What is your age? I guess most people are between 41 and 50, kind of middle-aged people that are answering this poll. What is your gender? Vast majority are women. The majority are North American and European who answered this poll, anyway. Identify as a member of 3HO. Wow, this is really split. Looks like about half do and half don't identify with 3HO, and some are in the middle. A lot of people are just in the middle, not kind of neutral about it, not thinking they're part of 3HO or not. I identify as a Sikh. Interesting. Most people who answer this poll do identify as a Sikh. But there's a significant number who do not. There's some here that are kind of in the middle of whether or not. But quite a few people, most people do identify as a Sikh. So the question is, will people in 3HO or Yogi Bhajan organizations keep their Sikhi if Yogi Bhajan's teachings are all thrown out? That'll remain to be seen. I've seen a lot of people who have said they're taking off their turbans and cutting their hair. And maybe they still identify as a Sikh, but that's not really being a Sikh if you cut your hair and take off your turban. Identify as a member of the Kundalini Yoga community. So it appears that there are more people that are identifying as part of the Kundalini Yoga community than identify as Sikhs here. So that's my suspicion, that most people identify with the Kundalini Yoga rather than with the Sikh identity. I teach Kundalini Yoga. Wow, the vast majority do teach Kundalini Yoga, and that's 65% teach Kundalini Yoga. Again, this is an indication that seems like people will identify more with the Kundalini Yoga than maybe with Sikhi. Because as I've talked about in many of my videos, Kundalini Yoga really has no place in Sikhi. And I think as time goes on, people are going to realize that more and more. It was a whole thing made up by Yogi Bhajan, and Yogi Bhajan used Sikhi to really give credibility to Tantric Kundalini Yoga by making up all these fraudulent, all these lies and stories about how there was this golden chain with the Sikh gurus and all of that. It's just complete nonsense. So I think as time goes on, people realize that they're going to have to choose between Yogi Bhajan's Kundalini Yoga and Sikhi, real Sikhi. So there's a possibility that people might drop all the teachings of Yogi Bhajan, drop all these kriyas and meditations, and just do something called yoga for exercise or something. That's possible. But I don't know. It's going to be really tough for them. I attended boarding school in India. Only about 13% here. That's that Mary Pity Academy here. A member of the LGBTQ community. Not many, 10% or something. How long have you been associated with this community? Well, this is interesting. It looks like probably most people that answered this poll anyway have been around for a while. 10 years. And maybe if you combine the 10-year section, 6 to 10 years, and the 11 to 20 years, you get pretty big percentage there, maybe almost 50%. So a lot of people have been around. Less people have met Yogi Bhajan. Those people like me that have been around for 30 to 40 years, only about 8%. Okay.